Three tomatoes are walking down the street. Papa tomato, mama tomato, and baby tomato.
Plain Ketchup presents.
Starring Lindsay Hinkle and Jamie Nelson.
So this is Plain Ketchup, is it? I prefer something with a little more kick.
Everybody's favorite condiment-themed entertainment podcast.
Put some hot sauce on my burrito, baby!
Hot sauce.
Nobody puts ketchup on a hot dog.
This is Hot Sauce on PlainKetchupPodcast.com, and I'm Jamie Nelson. With me, my co-host, Lindsay Hinkle. Hey, Lindsay.
Hi, Jamie. So, Jamie.
So, Lindsay.
Our topic this month is comedy, huh?
I love myself some comedy.
Sometimes we pretend we're comedy.
Comedy and tragedy.
Which one of us is tragedy?
I don't know.
My brand of comedy is kind of tragic. Wah, wah.
Punch me in the face.
That's slapstick.
Not for the person crying. Obviously, you are comedy, I am tragedy. If you think someone says punch in the face, Lindsay thinks it's slapstick, Jamie thinks crying.
What made you decide that comedy was,
Well, Lindsay, to answer that very articulate question, my grandfather was a stand-up comic. He was the youngest stand-up comic in America at the time.
I just realized that people laughed at me an awful lot, and I thought, hey, maybe I should try to do this funny stuff on purpose.
In the quiet recesses of my own bedroom.
Right, where no one can see me cry.
So you are tragedy. So speaking of comedy, we have got ourselves our very own stand-up comic out in the waiting room.
What is it?
Thank you for asking. It's Jen House.
Hey, Jen.
How are you, Jen?
I'm doing fantastic.
Great, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So you do stand-up, clearly. Your bio says that you got started on a cruise ship with your dad?
That is correct, yes. When I was in 5th grade, we went on a cruise and they were having a big talent show at the end of the run of the cruise. And my dad's like, Jennifer, we're going to do this, And my dad was a guy that they always called in to do roasts, like in the early 80s. So he was always, doing funny stuff and telling jokes. And he's the guy at the bar at every wedding that everybody's huddled around while he's, telling jokes. So he was like, Jennifer, get over here. We're going to do this. I remember we wrote it out and I still have the set list. It was awful. I remember doing like poor jokes, and we weren't poor. We're on a cruise ship and we're doing jokes about being poor. Like, I remember they were awful too. Like, like our house is so small that when I put the key in the, in the door, whatever, I poked out the back window, or, they were awful. And I remember even doing like a racist joke and like not knowing the gravity of that. And there was like one black family like on the cruise because we were up against the kid who was breakdancing, and being like, oh Lord, like now I think back and I'm like, oh God. Of course now my dad is upset about my choice of career. It's all your fault.
What was his expectations?
He wanted me to be an engineer for Chrysler, just like you.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, you should have put a calculator in my hand or something instead of getting me up on stage and giving me the bug.
Funny engineer.
That's right.
Are you embarrassed at all when people ask what you do, or do you tell them with pride?
Oh, with pride. Absolutely.
Awesome.
I usually get, people usually more than anything just respect the hell out of that. They're like, oh my God, like that's so great that you're going after that, because it's not every day, you meet, unless you're in Hollywood here, that you meet, people who are really going after that, So for the most part, I get a lot of respect from people about that. And then of course they're like, say something funny.
Oh yeah.
Like I'm a parrot. Holly want a cracker.
Are you from California? No, you're from Detroit, right?
Detroit, that's right.
How long have you been out in Cali?
I'm not even out here a full year yet. I just moved out here in late October.
Oh, very nice.
So I could have one more fall and no more winter. Woo!
That sounds good to me. I'm out in Jersey where it's quite cold in the winter.
Yeah, I hear you.
But you've also done some traveling. You went on tour. Tell me about that.
Well, and in no way was I typecast, but I was on the Dykes of Hazzard comedy tour. And no, it was a total blast. Yeah, we went all around the country. I hosted in Detroit as well, a couple of shows for us. I think we did 3 shows in Detroit. Oh no, I take that back. 2 shows in Detroit. We did Pittsburgh. We went over to Baltimore, DC. We made our way, down to New Orleans a couple times. Texas. We came up the West Coast here. We did California, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Palo Alto, and went back down. We hit Vegas and what was it? North Carolina. Yeah, a bunch of places. Yeah, we went all over the place. We're in our van, which was called Uncle Jesse.
Why is that?
Well, because it was, the whole, Dykes of Hazzard thing. So the tour van was, of course, Uncle Jesse. Got to name your tour van.
Absolutely. So what is the weirdest place you've played? Because is it true that you tried to avoid playing traditional comedy clubs?
Yes, that is true. Yeah, the weirdest one was for sure Palo Alto. We got this little last minute gig. We were all just searching around like, hey, we're going to be over in this area. So we were kind of just hitting up all of our contacts. And so I got hit up from this girl that I knew from Detroit. Said, hey, we have a theater, or I work for this theater in Palo Alto, which is where Stanford is, and was like, hey, you want to, play here? We'd love to have you. And we're like, yeah, that sounds great. Well, we played to an Asian couple. It was hilarious. I mean, it was a really last minute thing, so there wasn't, a ton that could happen or whatever. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think that the Stanford town was really the place to be playing the Dykes of Hazzard. But this cute little Asian couple showed up. She really wanted to go out, and her husband was super sick, but he was trying to be nice to his wife and take her out. And so they looked at us and they were like, it's okay if you don't want to perform. We understand. We're like, no. We're like, the heck with it. We all just had a ball with it, And we had some friends with us too, and then the people from the theater. So it wasn't just 2 people. We did have some people in the audience, but technically, yes, it was 2 people. And we did it. We had a blast, and they totally were cracking up, and they totally loved us. And I'm pretty sure we made fans for life.
Yeah, it would suck if it turns out that the 2 people in the show were the hecklers of the bunch.
Right, exactly.
Hecklers intrigue me because, obviously there's, no logic to it, and that's probably why they're usually drunk. But it seems like there's really only 2 motivations for it. One is you're trying to make the comedian funnier, which isn't going to happen by saying, boo, you suck.
No.
It's not going to be like, oh, I totally forgot I was supposed to tell the funny jokes today.
Or you're going to boo them off the stage, at which point, you've just paid, $15 to watch entertainment, and now you have no entertainment. So, if you want to just sit around a bar and do nothing, you could have done that without a cover charge.
Exactly.
Do you have to deal with hecklers a lot?
You know what? I'm gonna knock on wood right now. I've been very fortunate to, I don't know, I guess I just don't feel like I warrant that. I'm not that comedian that kind of brings that behavior on. If anything, I get the people who are the agreeers. They're like, yeah, totally. Or they want to add. They're like, yeah, I had that happen to me. And then you're like, okay, all right. In that case, I really try not to. You have to just go, oh, sure, and go steamroll them, because I've gotten in conversation. People want to have conversations with you while you're on stage. And then you're like, okay, I'm going to get back to the joke, and you regroup. I'll talk to you after the show. And I usually get a pretty good laugh out of that. Everybody cracks up, because I'll just stand there and I'll put the mic at my side. Yes, it's your show now, and just to get the laugh like that, bring them into it, and just make light of it. But yeah, no, I've been very, very fortunate not to have had anything dirty or mean, malicious happen. So yeah,
that's good.
I'm sure I have one due. But
if you could steal one joke, that is, if you could take credit for someone else's joke, what joke would that be?
God, I mean, I have so many of those where I'm just pissed that I didn't come up with it first, And then, of course, I have had other ones where I was literally just talking about something to a friend, and then, and then a comedian goes up and, does it in their way, and I'm like, what? And I just had that happen recently. I can't remember what it was, but I will say this one, because I do quote this one all the time. Have you heard of Fortune Feimster?
No.
Okay, she is a comedian who is she was made it to the final rounds of Last Comic Standing, and she does a joke about being gay in high school, and not knowing it, when you don't know, but it's clearly obvious, and her mom is questioning her about why does her friend always have to come to everything. She's like, because she's my best friend, that's why. And like clearly she was in love with her. And so that's definitely one. I've always joked about that myself.
When you write your material, do you do like a whole set at a time, or do you sort of like add and subtract as you go organically?
It's so funny. I have a comedian friend in town, Mike Stanley, who's originally from Detroit, but he's out of Chicago now. And he and I were just cracking up about this. Well, I write organically. Like I cannot do it on the computer. It's got to be hard copy in a notebook, blah, blah, blah. But the funny thing is, and I do find that there's a massive chunk of comedians that do the same thing, and it's very neurotic, is you go to write out your set, okay? And so you're like, okay, what am I going to do for this show? And you write down your options on a piece of paper. You're like, okay, well, these are good. And then when you narrow it down, it's basically you write down the same set every time. There's just a go-to set that happens, but you do it like it's brand new, and you have 15 million lists of the same set. Like I have this, and it's you write it down like it's brand spanking new every time. It's like it's very neurotic. I don't even know. I don't know how to. I mean, we were just laughing about it. Like, do you do this too? He's like, oh my God, look at this. And he flips open his book and it's like the same set written out, on 100 pages.
Maybe it's just one of those things where you do it so many times you think, well, one of these days, it's gonna change.
Yeah, it's gonna change. I'm gonna slip something different in there.
Because if you purposely go on knowing you're gonna do the same set every time, then you'll never know if maybe it was time for a change. You're sort of testing the waters.
It's true. I mean, you do slip things in there, Well, interestingly enough, I was trying to give him my set time. Like, I had been doing a lot of work during the day, and I was just really tired, and I was really trying to get him on this show that I was doing. And it's more like, it's just a showcase show. So there's like, 10 comedians and everybody goes up for 8 minutes or whatever. And so I just said, I called up the booker and I was like, would you actually mind? I texted her or something saying, my friend Mike's in town, the guy I wanted on the show. And I'm just going to actually give him my spot since he couldn't get on. I'm like, I'll still come, I'll still pay, I'll still bring people. Anyway, long story short, so we get there and she was so out of her mind. She was like, I got you both on. And I hadn't planned on a set. And so we looked at each other. I'm like, give me a piece of paper, bro. I got to write down my same set, And I actually didn't. I was like, you know what? I was like, I don't know why, but ironically, I can't remember what my set is because I don't have my options in front of me. So I'm going to write down something different. And I actually did a bunch of different stuff. I pulled out some old, because I was just trying to think of jokes. I was like, I pulled out some old school. I came up like something I was joking around with him about. I came up with 2 things that I had just been laughing with him about. It's like winged it and it went great.
Wow. So, people should launch surprise shows on you more often.
I know, it's true.
Get the creative juices going.
Yeah, I wish you could see my desk right now. There's seriously probably 8 of the same sets right in front of me here.
Do you usually do like just the traditional stand-up, or do you ever do like PowerPoint routines or sketches or?
Oh yeah, I've pretty much done everything. Only thing I'm not the biggest fan of doing myself is improv. I don't know why. I probably should, and I probably will at some point, try to retackle it. I did it with like, acting in college and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it then. I was good at it. It's something, I don't know what the heck, it just doesn't do anything for me. And I have a ton of friends who are in Second City and, Improv Olympics and all that stuff. But, and there's such a fine line too between the improv world and the stand-up world. And, and it's actually a pet peeve. And I know it's not even just my pet peeve of when people say like, oh, you do stand-up? You ever go to Second City? I'm like, no, that's improv. And they're like, oh, and people don't realize it is such a different, they're 2 different worlds,
I took a class in high school, and it was like half of it was stage acting and half of it was filmmaking, and I went for the filmmaking, but you have to get through all the stage acting stuff first. And so we did a unit on improv, and I don't mind getting up in front of people if I know what I'm going to say. Like the improv, it terrified me. The entire class of maybe like 15, 20 students in a circle, and then like you have to like launch in, like one person at a time has to like go into the middle of the circle and do something spontaneous.
I think because I'm such a stand-up person, I think that I don't like having to rely on somebody else in the scene. If it was like, if I knew every person I was on stage with was like kick ass and we were all just gonna like lift each other up, I think I might be more apt to do it all the time. But I think there's that like, all right, who's the weak link? I don't know. There's something about it. And I don't mind, like, I'm a team player too. Like, I played soccer for 18 years. And I certainly, want to help out the weak link. But I think as far as being on stage, I just like to know who all my players are. So, but yeah, I've done sketch. What's one of the reasons why I finally ended up moving out here is I did everything that I could do in Detroit. And that includes, I had my own sketch show for a while. We did 2 massive installments of that where I had a crew together. We had, we did it like literally like Saturday Night Live, but live on stage, where we had a house band that would play in between each thing. And we had a guest band every week. And the guest band, we'd have jump in on 2 sketches, and we would do songs and whatnot. And then I also even did a one-woman show, which I ended up getting nominated for a huge theater award in Detroit for Best Original Comedy. So, yeah, I've pretty much tackled everything. I've also done a lot of acting, and I love directing. And I have just figured out in the past 2 years that ultimately I would like to be a producer.
Oh, like a producer of?
You know what? Of anything creative, I guess. I'm sure I'll narrow it down at some point. But ironically, this leads to the job that I'm doing right now, which is a great start for me in a different direction. I'm actually booking and tour managing a band right now.
Oh, right. Yes.
It's a Americana, the genre of Americana, a little country, a little rock and roll. And the name of the band is Drunk on Crutches.
It's a great name.
Heck yeah. So, I'm gonna go out on tour with them. I'm booking the tour right now, and I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
You're on jenhouse.net. Is there anywhere else people can find you?
Jenhouse.net. You can find me on Facebook, Jen House. Of course, I have the MySpace, but if you really get a hold of me on there, that says something about your status in life. No, I try to constantly put up different videos, so I guess just keep plugging away and checking me out. And I can't help, but promote the band that I'm working for right now, because I wouldn't do it if I didn't have my heart into it. So come check out Drunk on Crutches in a city near you. I'll probably be posting those dates on my website as well as the drunkoncrutches.com website. I really want to see them take off as well. And Mike Stanley, that's one of my favorite comedians right now. I would love to plug him as well. So
awesome.
Those are my babies right there.
Very cool. Well, thank you for joining me today.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me. And can't wait to see your success happen.
Oh, well, gee, thanks. All right. Well, have a good rest of your Saturday.
Thank you. And you as well. You take good care of yourself.
Yeah, you too. I remember you.
This has been Hot Sauce, brought to you by PlainKetchupPodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and comment on iTunes. Check back every Monday for a new celebrity guest interview. You may also want to check out our hilarious Wednesday videos on youtube.com/PlainKetchup. That's PlainKetchup. Sign up for our newsletter on PlainKetchupPodcast.com to be entered into our monthly drawings. We give away t-shirts, music, stickers, and more from our guests. Please like us on Facebook.com/PlainKetchup and follow us on Twitter @PlainKetchup. Don't forget to support this project by buying Plain Ketchup swag at our Cafe Press store. Have a question? Email Jamie and Lindsay at gmail.com. That's JAIME and LINDSEY @gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay saucy.